All right, everybody, welcome to another edition of What's What VR. Today we have Mark Lewis. Mark's been around for a long time. Him and I have a little bit of a history. We've known each other. We just connected, talking a little bit, trying to find where it started and how it ended. And it's lived on the web and it was tangled like the web. So we know each other from a lot of different places. So how you doing, Mark? How's it going?
I'm doing terrific, Brandon. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. I appreciate you making the time. With everything going on, everybody just is, as I talk about, we're as busy as we, have been. You're actually down in New Orleans, so you probably understand this. A buddy of mine, I have to keep giving him credit. He came up with it. Every day feels like the day before the big storm's about to hit. It's just.
We're living Katrina all over again, kind of, when you think about it. And, the good thing about that is that we've got an experience in terms of business disruption. And I think we're better prepared in Louisiana to handle it, especially in New Orleans, Baton Rouge, to handle these things because all the hurricanes we've been going through now. We don't want to go through it, but I think we have a better understanding than most people throughout the country.
Yeah, and we've been pummeled, with things. I've told everybody, one of these days we're going to talk a little bit. You've got a book that you've written, but I told a buddy of mine, I'm like, man, if I could write a book, we've been through tornadoes, we've been through hurricanes, we've been through floods, we've been through pandemics, we've been through it all, in our lives here.
Yeah, that's true. And one thing I have probably over you, and this is an interesting story. When I was with IBM several years ago, I was in Memphis. I tell people that I actually was in a plane that hit another plane. Now that seems a lot of information, and everybody's thinking, well, how did you survive? Well, we were on the ground in Memphis, and we were coming back from Memphis to New Orleans, and our plane backed up and another plane backed up, and both those tails collided and locked at the same time. And so we had sirens and everything coming over, and we got unloaded. They want to know if everything was okay. So I have an experience here of being in a plane that hit another plane.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. I just recently started flying airplanes. And so you told me that, I was like, oh my gosh.
I know, everybody thinks that way. They say, I've been in a plane that hit another plane. They go, whoa, how did you do it? But it's just something to experience.
That's awesome. Well, look, tell me, you are right now working through, or kind of one of the things with you mentioned like a state program, the CEO Roundtable. Tell me a little bit about what that's, exactly is.
Well, I'm a member of Entrepreneurs Organization of Louisiana, and we proposed to the state about 6 years ago to provide roundtables that would help accelerate the growth of small businesses. So we presented this to LED, and then LED came back. They really liked the program, so they did a pilot test in New Orleans about 6 years ago. And I fortunately was I moderated. I was hired to moderate those roundtables. We had about 15 to 18 CEOs at the time, and it was so successful that the state decided to set aside funds to continue the program, and that's been continuing over for the past 7 years now. And I moderate roundtables both in New Orleans and in Baton Rouge. The whole purpose of this is to identify companies that have the ability to accelerate their growth, but they need help doing it. So we meet once a month for 10 months out of the year, and we talk for 4 hours, and we talk about different subjects like sales and marketing, best practices in human resources, financial management, operational management, business development, all these topics that I present. And then this peer-to-peer shared networking with the group, and they share their best ideas, and I provide the education to help them accelerate the growth. And every investment, the dollar investment that the state makes in this program, they get $11 in return. So that's how successful it's been, and they're doing it in 6 states now.
Really? That's amazing. That started here.
It started in New Orleans. The next year we did Baton Rouge and New Orleans. It was so successful, and I was honored to be able to do it, that they'd expanded across the state now. And it's a great program, and it's free. Businesses can apply, and now's the time to apply. So if there's any businesses out there that want to apply, minimum of $600,000 in revenue typically, because we don't want too small companies, and it goes all the way up to $100 million in revenue. We have a good mix of small and large businesses. The large businesses can share their experiences, and it's been just really successful. And the demand is great. You have to go to opportunitylouisiana.com and to apply, and the applications were extended because of COVID-19. And so I think they may end at the end, probably right around the May 15th, 20th level, so we can start the program in July.
Wow. I bet that's been incredible. Have y'all had little extra meetings, here or there, or jumping on calls? Have y'all done anything with what we're dealing with
Yeah,
right now?
so yeah, so what happens, what the good thing about it is these programs, last for 12 months, and then the CEOs say, look, this was so successful, I want to continue. And they had no mechanism to continue. But now LED has provided this, what they call this LED growth network. Anybody graduating from the CEO roundtable goes into this growth network, along with the people that have taken their Goldman Sachs program, and those people have taken economic gardening through the state. So now they've built out this small growth network of companies that meet regularly. Now, the benefit of what I've done is some of these people have said, hey, I want to continue. This is a great program. And so I've created what they call the CEO Masters Roundtable. People who graduated from the LED Roundtable now want to continue, and I've been able to do that both in New Orleans and in Baton Rouge.
That's incredible. And I describe myself as kind of a serial entrepreneur to a fault, at this point. So I don't know if I'm excited that you're telling me, or like kind of a little like, why didn't you tell me this sooner? Because it's news to me, that I'm hearing this. But this sounds, incredible. This is what people need. I've been a part of different mastermind groups, and I remember one thing, when starting, one of my first companies getting there. My mother actually sat me down and told me, and I can remember where I was. And she's like, you're going into business, you're gonna be doing this. Let me tell you, because she was an entrepreneur as well. She goes, let me just tell you, it's lonely at the top.
No doubt. And the ability to be able to network with these CEOs is really beneficial. Now, this is not an easy program, because every session they have to do a homework assignment. The homework assignment could be write your vision statement and your mission statement. The other homework assignment would say, tell me what your goals are. And then another homework would be sales and marketing as it relates to target marketing. Do you understand? How do you market and promote? So they have to do the kind of things that are necessary to make them accountable, to make sure they take that information back and implement it.
And you say it's homework, sometimes people don't realize when you say, sit down, write your mission statement, or you say it in passing, like, oh, I got to write a mission statement. When you sit down and pen hits paper, or, keys hit, that doc, that mind can go blank sometimes. And you've really got to sit there and focus and go, okay, what's the mission? What's the story? And then you end up writing things down. You're going, well, that's not really the mission. That's what I've got to work on for the next 90 days. And then you go, well, that's really the next 100. How can this be infinite?
Well, the mission and vision statement is really designed for your employees. They want to know what direction you're headed. If you don't have something like that, sometimes they don't understand what the mission and vision is of the company. Being able to put that together and express that gives them a roadmap as to where they're going. One of the biggest things that any organization has to deal with their employees. How do we motivate them? How can we change the culture that we can work as a family? And so that's a really key component. And I've done some really unique things to define what best fits a culture and how you determine whether employees will fit that culture. And I always say the best way to lose A players is to tolerate C players. You got to get rid of those toxic employees so you can go forward. That's a big deal for me.
I've heard that, time and time again, and you hear people use the expression, 90% of the work's done by 10% of the people, but, really you need everybody, you need all, A players, and.
Well, it's really especially true now based on what we're going through in this environment. You got to make sure that your A players don't go look and go somewhere else. You really got to spend special attention on keeping your current employees and what you can do. Be empathetic, be understanding, listen to them, have these daily huddle calls. All that enters into and making people feel like they're special and they're part of something. That's big in any corporation.
Yeah. We have our traditional and our publishing, companies. We have our traditional, mission statements and, vision statements. But one of the things that I incorporated into it was jobs. And just turned around and said that we have two jobs, that we do at this company. One is to inform and educate and be a resource for our community, job one. And Job two is make our advertisers wildly successful, period. no matter what you're doing in the company, it should align with one of those two jobs.
You know, I heard a great statement from one of my CEOs that were in a roundtable, and what she said was this: if you take care of your employees and you make them really happy, they'll take care of your customers. And I thought that was a really defining statement. Take care of them, and then they'll translate into those customers. And when, of course, a happy customer is a great customer because they'll make referrals. I mean, there's so much that goes into being a successful business, but it's really not that hard. Most people don't realize some of the simple things you need to do to make a business successful. It's not that hard.
It's an old spin on one of my favorite quotes from Zig Ziglar. You know, you can have anything you want in life as long as you help enough other people get what they want first.
Exactly. And that's what spurred me to write my book. Everything that I was seeing within that environment, you know, started back in 2016 when I just saw these things. I go, I can't believe people are doing this. Like, why are you doing that? It's so self-centered. Like, a perfect example is, you know, people, when you come to a stoplight, right, and the light changes, and there's people that walk right in front of you, even though you have a green light. It's like, why aren't you aware of that? And then if it does turn, why aren't you going very fast across? So what you're doing is you're respecting that person's in the car and their time. They need to get somewhere. All that thing, everything that has to do with thinking and serving others is what I wanted to put in my book, because I saw culture changing in a way that became so self-centered and so selfish that I needed to find a way to get that on paper, because it was bothering the hell out of me.
That's funny. I was in the car a while back, and I've always made it a point. It was me and somebody else. We were going somewhere, and we were kind of going down the street or something like that. And I started to stop, and there was no reason to stop, but it was raining, but there was somebody that needed to cross the street. And so I'm stopping and kind of waving them across, and they didn't catch on what was going on. They're like, why are you stopping? I'm like, I'm not going to sit in the rain. I can sit here for 30 seconds. Let them get on with their way. You know, let them do what they need to do. You know, it's not going to hurt us to sit here for a little bit and let them.
And we need more people to think like you, because they don't. That's exactly right. You know, it's funny. I think about this. You're running, you go down there and you're behind a car and they throw trash out of their car on the highway. You've probably seen that in the cigarette butts and all. Okay, so my question to you would be, if you're in the middle of your living room and you're eating a sandwich, would you throw that trash in the middle of your living room and leave it there? Absolutely not. You know why? Because now they can internalize something that is they can internalize something. Once they get outside their external domain, they don't care about things like maybe we did 30 or 40, 50 years ago. People don't think that way. When I internalize, I care, or what I call give a damn. When I get outside my domain, do I care about other people? And the answer is, it wasn't like that 40 or 50 years ago. It's become more and more of this today. And that's the reason why I wrote the book, to change people's mindset and get them to think. I love the title. It pulls me in, you know, and frankly, I think it's a perfect, you've got to give a damn, you know, and at the same time, there's a lot of people, like you said, that just don't. And it's like, where did that break down, you know, in society? How did we get there? I used to say all the time, like you mentioned throwing the trash. I can't stand that. And I can't stand someone who steals, you know. Right. I know.
If you need money, come tell me, you know, I'll give you what I can, you know, just don't take it from me. It's not yours. You're not entitled to it, you know. So what'd you find through the course of writing this book?
Well, what I found out was society as a culture has changed, and there's several factors that have caused that. And in my book, I've identified 9 factors. One is technology. I think technology has been great for helping improve productivity, but it's also lessened our communication face-to-face. Now we send text messages. Now we send emails. Instead of calling somebody up, we'll send them a text message. And some communication gets lost in that way. Face-to-face, you can see people nonverbal, what they're thinking, how they're reacting to things, more of that communication. Now, the communication has gotten greater, but the quantity is better, but the quality, I think, has caused a problem. The other thing is government. I think government has bred entitlement. Look, I'm all about helping people, but there's got to be an end point. That end point is, I'm going to give you everything you need to succeed, but if you choose not to, I can't help you anymore. It's an attitude. I want to make sure that people feel like they're responsible and respected. there's things like special interest groups. That's a huge problem, especially in the government, because you can contribute to a special interest group, and the special interest group can spend billions of dollars on things and not have to worry about it, because there's limitations in terms of what you and I can give to a political candidate, but there's not limitations for special interest groups. And there's other areas like I talk about wealth and the poor and the wealthy and how that compares. Religion's more taboo now. I mean, people think religion isn't taboo, people don't practice religion. By the way, did you know that if you're religious, the more religious you are, you'll actually live 4 years longer, or you live longer than people who are not religious? It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, somebody gave me feedback on one of the shows. I guess it was Friday that we were recording. I kind of signed off and told everybody to make sure they go to church online. Yeah. I got flack for it. Like, don't tell me what to do. And it was like, come on. And I think a lot of what maybe, when you were telling the story, in society and with phones and stuff, I've got a 12-year-old and 7-year-old twin boys. Last year we gave her phone, her first phone. And I messed up, as a parent. We kind of gave her the phone, and we were on a trip, and I wrote a piece about this, but the first time it was like the following Monday, she got it on a Friday or something. I had to call her the first time. So I dial her number, we're in the house, and I'm like, oh, she'll like it. So I call, and the phone rings, and then the first thing I hear is, what? I was like,
you do that to me too.
And I was like, oh no, down the stairs, give me the phone. And it made me think. It was like, I just got handed this device over. When I was a kid, I remember we learned certain etiquette. Remember it was like, you don't call people, before 9 a.m. and you don't call them after 9 p.m.,
Right.
And when you answer, and we were told this is how you answer the phone, and this is what you say, to go get some. I haven't done that. And I think, that little bit of erosion goes a long way.
Yeah, it's called respect, right? And there's less respect for people. It doesn't matter who they are. Look, I run a company. I could take the garbage out just like everybody else. It doesn't bother me to help people. It doesn't matter what position they are. It's all about respect. Let me get back to religion, though. Here's the problem with religion. Like, there was a situation in city of Slidell, and there's been this "In God We Trust" at the top of the thing, and someone looked at that and said, that's offensive. Well, look, it's been there for 30 years. Why should that be offensive? See, what happens it's never been a problem before, but now people are taking that and thinking that it's personally directed at them. That's not the case. You don't have to look at it. Just go about your business. And that's the problem. People are now taking things that are out there, it says God, that it's directed at them. It's not. And that's the problem with religion. Look, all religions, my wife told me this, all religions teach kindness. Like, no, they don't. There's someone to like all these other religions. I don't think that's true, but they do. They just do it in a way that we don't agree with, right? But that's the problem. We can't take religion. Look, if I were to shove a Bible in your face, yeah, that would be offensive, but I'm not doing that. It's like, we can't pray at school. Why not? If Papa wants to do it, I'm going to take flack for that. But anyway, I just think religion is now not directed at you personally. Let people do what they want, be religious. And by the way, be more religious, you're going to live longer. Who doesn't want to live longer?
It's science, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Statistics. So tell me, how long ago did Give a Damn come out?
Well, I wrote my first book in 2016, and it took about 7 years to do it, and I kept going off to a library. I had all these ideas. I had 60 pages of information that I dictated over 2 years, and finally put it on paper, reorganized it, and I never would get it done. And that went on and on and on. I had business to do. I had to make money, right? Because making book is not very money made. You don't make money much at that unless you're big, and I hope to be big. But anyway, 20% of everything I do goes to the Team Gleason Foundation. He wrote my opening forward to the book. So I said, Steve, if you do this, I'll give you 20%. But get back to my story. I couldn't get it done. I hire interns. This intern came in. I didn't want to hire her. She looked like she'd been in a gutter, to be honest with you. I mean, I shouldn't say that, but she looked bad. She wasn't very social. We worked for 2 weeks. I hired her because I felt sorry. 2 weeks later, I go, I'm trying to write this book. And she lit up like a Christmas tree. I go, what, Amy? She goes, I love editing books and screenplays. I said, I've got a project for you. 6 months later, I had my book. I did it myself. I thought it was okay, but there was something missing. And about a year ago, I reintroduced Give a Damn, same theme, but I had a journalist and an editor. She rearranged everything, took care of everything. It was amazing what she did. I had the story about my dealing with Nagin in there, a lot of personal stories in there about helping Nagin, put him in jail. That's a long story in itself. But I put a lot of personal stories in how it related to where I am today, et cetera, et cetera.
Wow. That's awesome. Writing a book, I've talked about it. I've told other people. I know people that I've told to write a book. It's daunting. It's hard enough. I've got a column I write every month, and they're actually waiting on me to do it right now. I'm behind schedule, as it is. But I don't know that I could ever get to that point of writing, the book. But somebody told me that's some famous author, basically, I remember somewhere saying along the lines, all you got to do is just write 1 page a day, and you'll be done in a year.
That's not easy, to be honest with you. It took me a long time because you have all these other distractions. But I finally got lucky. I got to say, it was a gift from God above that brought me Amy and then brought me Molly to redo the second book. And now I'm very much engaged. I want to take this nationwide. I've did a video on the silver lining on the coronavirus and how it relates. Now people are thinking now or giving a damn about other people than more than we've ever. Maybe it was the pandemic that created this. And I've created the American Accountability Pledge that I want people to take about respect, morality, all that kind of stuff. I created a Congressional Accountability Pledge. Look, Congress needs this more than anybody, right? So I created this Congressional Accountability Pledge. I sent it to everybody in Congress, every one of them. And guess who responded? Nobody.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't get any response. They all wanted me to sign up for their webpage and get information, but I didn't get anybody respond and say, hey, I think this is a good idea. I even met with Steve Scalise on it too, but I think he might help me.
Yeah, I caught the video. I saw it circulating around LinkedIn, that you did. And I think there has been, and we've done some talks about this on the show with others, there is a silver lining on this. And, it is horrible that people are dying, and it is bad. Yeah. I'm not by any means playing light of that, but honestly, my kids learned to ride a bike, without training wheels. And, we're bike riding every night, and we're, watching some shows whenever I can get away from the computer. I'll try to spend a little bit of time, but it is getting people, it's almost, like a pause. Right. I talked with, Shelly Ripple the other day with Crawfish Aquatics, and I love the way she said it. It was, we've been given the gift of time, and now's the time where we can do some of those things that were on our someday maybe list, and we can, kind of look at others. I know, like you said, I've been as busy as I've ever been, but at the same time, it gives me some pause, and I can reach out to some of those, and maybe give some people a chance to actually start giving a damn about some things,
Yeah, right. And then this book translates right into that. And, we have more family time. We're communicating now one-on-one versus being an email and text messaging. Leaders are now coming together. It's the first time you ever see Congress and the Democrats and Republicans come together and actually not think bipartisan. I think that's not gonna ever change, because once this is all over, they're gonna go back to bickering and it's me against them. And I just hate that whole scenario. And that's why I'm trying to get every book in front of Congress and everybody. I want to give a signed copy to everybody in Congress and make them read it. That's going to be a tough thing for me to do, and see if they'll work together. It's, they don't want to cooperate. It's me versus them. I do speeches. And I ask, and I could ask you this, and I don't want you to answer. Are you a Democrat or a Republican? I ask that in all my speeches, and nobody answers. You know why? Because if they answer, then you're going to be put in a box. The Democrats and there's a label on you, and nobody wants that label because you can't think. Because if a Democrat thinks like a Republican or vice versa, and it gets to the party, you're a traitor. Now they're ostracized from the party, and that's just wrong. There's no cooperation and collaboration, and that's the biggest problem with Congress today. There's a give and take.
It's everything. You can't be. I was always told, it's not black and white. There's shades of gray.
Exactly.
In the middle. So,
Not
so
everybody's going to win. You can't please everybody, right? But like I make this analogy. I'm a political candidate and I'm running against somebody else and I get 50.1%. The other guy got 49.9 and nobody complains about it, right? They won, they're disappointed, but nobody ever says anything. But if I do a policy that is 80% or 90% for the good of the people, it's the other 10% that maybe screw it up, like the special interest groups, and therefore things don't get done because there's powerful people that can put an axe to certain things. And that's just wrong.
do you see that in with some of these CEOs that you're talking to and some of these roundtables that, I find a lot of times I talk with them and they know the right answer. They know what they need to do. I've talked with other groups. It's like, we know how to solve our problems, but it's
Yeah.
almost, we don't want to because we know it's going to create other problems. You can make the decision unilaterally. It's going to make 90%. It's going to be good for 90% of everybody in your organization. This is how we're going to do it. But it's that small minority that gives, the angst, it gives that anxiety and, like, there's got to be a better way. It's like, no, you just need to do it.
Yeah, and that's a tough decision that a lot of CEOs have a hard time making. But I always go back, what's right. Most people know what's right versus what's wrong. The reason why they do the wrong thing is they can justify it in their mind as being right. Now think about that. Like, you wouldn't go out and just go kill a baby, right? I mean, you just take a knife but if you had some reason and it was a bad situation and you could find a reason that you would do something to hurt a baby, then you might do it. But it's not the right thing to do. It could be jealousy. It could be money, anything. People know it's right, but do the wrong thing because they can justify in their mind as being right. And that's what we have to change. We have to think. But the CEO, look, like I said, we can't please everybody. But if you can please 90%, you're doing the best. And sometimes those decisions are hard to make, but you have to do it because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, got to be a leader, right?
Yeah, leaders can be tough. Leaders have to make very hard choices. They have to lead. They can't please everybody, but for the good of most is where it's at.
Awesome, Mark. Well, tell me, is there anything we're forgetting, right now, anything that we need to get out? I'm kind of looking over some notes. We talked about the roundtable. We talked about the book, you're in New Orleans, but, might be making your way back to Baton Rouge, here soon.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. My wife's got a new job at Episcopal. And so we're excited about that. She's got a major project for creativity and helping kids K through 12. But, one thing I thought that was really beneficial in the book is this question I would ask when you're getting ready to do something, and you got to think before you do it. What would you do if you always knew your mom was watching you, or a mentor was watching you, or God was watching you? What kind of decision would you make in terms of what's in your head? And I use that as a basis for making decisions, but I have these wristbands too that I give out to everybody, right? When they get a book that says "Give a Damn," and I have to be constantly reminded on a regular basis that it's not hard, it's not easy to always think and do the right thing, but most of the time this makes me realize some of the things that I need to do differently. And I'm just passionate about taking this message to the world. I'm just a little guy, right? I need some big guy. Like, I sent an email to Tim Tebow last night, right? Say, hey, look, I got this book. You're doing all these great things. Very religious, right? He gets ostracized because of it, which is wrong. But I need to get somebody really big that can just take this theme and have all of America adopt "Give a Damn." If you think about that, we all give a damn. We all give a damn. It might change the culture and how we relate to each other, because the more we do for others, the better we feel, and everybody's happier. It really is a big deal.
And I was thinking, leading up to, our call today, I think, and maybe if you'd agree or not, either way, let me know. I think we've got it when we say, give a damn. A lot of times people do give a damn on the big things, but it's the little things, that you've got to give a damn. You've got to look at it. It's not just the big decisions. Too many times we if you're leading or if it's in your family, you
Yep.
care and you get into all the details when you're going on vacation and which flight and what's all, doing. But you got to sit down and get into the details of it, and really care about all of it. Right.
Well, we really give a damn most when we can internalize something that affects our family or something that affects our food or shelter or whatever it is that affects our lives. What's real important is what can we do to give a damn to affect the lives of others that we don't know? And that's the problem, because we become more self-centered by not thinking that way. How can I help your life, Brandon? How can I help the next door neighbor's life? And it's not a big thing. It's not that it takes time or money, but if I help you, I make you happy. It makes me feel good too. When I do good things for people, don't you feel good about it?
Yes, I walk, I'm a pacer. Usually I'm kind of moving around. You probably noticed in a chair, but I get on the phone and I put some AirPods in and I start pacing, and people will find my wife, some people will run into me and they'll see me after I hang up the phone. I'm walking and I've just got my hands are full of garbage, because I'm just walking around and I'll see it and I'm just picking it up as I go. And it's just a little thing. It's like, am I making a huge difference? No, but I would equate that to, in my mind, I'm giving a damn, it's not going to hurt anything. It's one little piece of trash, but I'll pick it up, and go from there and just grab the next one.
That's a big deal. You're doing the right. There's little things that make a difference in people's lives are really important. And this is going to take a long time for people to get. And I probably won't be alive long enough to be able to maybe see this through, but I'm going to work like hell to get the message. Now, give a damn is strong. You said you like it's catchy. Some people get offended by it, but here's why I went with the title. My mom passed away about 6 years ago, and I asked God and I asked Mom, look, give a damn could be viewed as offensive. But I went and I said, look, God told me this and my mom told me this. You're not using this in an offensive manner. You're using it for the right reasons, for people to care and have altruism, to have respect, to have accountability, to be responsible. You're finding a way, and this is the way to maybe wake people up. In fact, my twin sister, I'm a twin, by the way, as well. She said, well, you should change it. You should change the title, Share Your Love. I said, that's very beautiful and it's nice. I just don't think it's kind of like, okay, but I think it doesn't grab you like Give a Damn does. So
not in your face.
Yeah, sure. I don't want to be in people's face, but I want people to take notice. Share a love, take notice, but maybe in a more, not a negative way, but it's more like not hard enough to be able to do it. So that's why I created the title the way I did. There's a lot in the book that people can really engage. I have all these ideas about how they can give a damn, hundreds of examples of what they need to do to be able to, help others. And I've got quotes in there, personal stories, the story about me and how my life was affected when we recovered the data from that helped put Mayor Nagin in jail in New Orleans. There's a big story behind that. I'm not going to get into it here, but it affected me and my family. But it was the right thing to do. I suffered from it, but
Wow.
I knew what I was doing was right.
That sounds like that might be another day to get you in here and hear that story.
I could write a book on that alone.
That's the next one.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Well, Mark, I appreciate it very much. As we said, we've all been extremely busy, giving up the time today to kind of run through, talk about the book, talk about the roundtable. We'll get some links for everybody to be able to click into that, apply. Like I think you said, they extended the deadline. We'll get some links for people to pick up a copy of the book. I saw it's on Amazon. You can go.
Yeah, you can get it on Amazon. You go to giveadamnbook.com. If you want multiple copies, just let me know. I can get them to you a lot quicker, and I can get them all signed too.
And it's local. Supporting
it's
local right now.
You're right. So. Exactly.
All right, Mark. Well, have a great day. Have a good weekend. We got some good weather coming. And in anticipation of offending someone again, go to church online this weekend.
Thanks, Brandon. You've been terrific. I enjoyed it immensely.
All right.
Have a good one. You bet, sir. Okay.